Pinky and the Brain is one of my favorite cartoons ever made. Every single night, Pinky and Brain went out to take over the world. Like that was their thing. What are we doing tonight, Brain? We're going to take over the world, Pinky. But every night they went out and tried to take over the world, they didn't. And they went back to a cage. They tried another night and then they went back to a cage. It gets even more interesting, right? Pinky and Brain both were geniuses. They were very intelligent, very smart. They were actually strategists. Not only were they intelligent, and they were genius, but they were strategists, right? And they did it every single night and didn't take over the world. And when they couldn't, you know where they went back to? A cage. It gets even better. They were actually lab rats, which means that they were confined in that cage because it was locked and they had to pick the lock to get out. So they were confined in a laboratory, and that means researchers were doing research on them for whatever reason. Unknown. We don't know. Maybe someone could go research and let me know. Nevertheless, they had the opportunity to escape out that cage. They had the knowledge and they were the strategists. But instead, when they couldn't take over the world, they went back to the cage. And this is where people get twisted because they believe that knowledge alone is able to help you become a better person or give you the things that you want. And this is where my book, The 3 Layers of Self, come in. Without knowledge, without self-awareness, and without understanding your emotional body, you don't have no power. And you have to understand self-awareness, because if Pinky and Brain didn't learn self-helplessness, institutionalized self-helplessness, the genius that they had, they would have, instead of coming back to the cage when they couldn't take over the world, they would have stayed out of that laboratory, escaped from that cage, psychological cage, because that's what they were in, and had enough time to really understand how they could take over the world. But instead, they went back to the cage every single night. And most of us do that in our life. And the Bloom experience is designed to help us look at life from many different angles, so we don't get trapped in loops and trapped in psychological cycles. And this is where I stress my book about understanding self-awareness is key. Emotional body is key. This is what my coaching is about. It symbolized the Pinky and the Brain analogy that they went back to the cage every single night, even though they were geniuses, even though they were smart, even though they were strategists, but they didn't save themselves because they wasn't aware of themselves. They wasn't even aware that it was in a laboratory, in a cage, even though they were aware of it, but it wasn't self-aware. And that's the power.